If you like our video, click the button to subscribe to our channel and get easy access to new content. To see our full suite of ad-free video courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides, visit us at www.teachucomp.com. To use the Move tool in Photoshop to move, transform, align, and distribute layer content, click the Move tool button in the Tools panel. The Move tool shares the same button in the Tools panel with the Artboard tool, and the button shows the icon for the last tool selected. So, if needed, to select the Move tool, click and hold down on this button and select Move tool from the side menu that appears. To enable or disable automatically selecting a layer or layer group by clicking visible content in a layer in the document window when using the Move tool in Photoshop, check or uncheck the Auto Select checkbox in the Options bar control panel. If enabled, to choose what to select when you click a pixel in the Photoshop document with the Move tool. Select a choice from the Auto Select dropdown. You can choose either the layer or group choice as desired. If you disable the Auto Select feature of the Move tool in Photoshop, then ensure you select the layer with the content to move in the Layers panel. To move layer content in Photoshop after selecting the desired choices, place the Move tool over the layer content to move and click and drag it with your mouse. If the Auto Select feature of the Move tool in Photoshop is enabled, Photoshop automatically selects either the layer or layer group of the layer's visible content you click with the tip of the arrow cursor icon of the Move tool when you click and drag to move it. Alternatively, if disabled, Photoshop ignores the location at which you click and instead moves the active layer in the Layers panel. If moving a linked layer, you also move the contents of its linked layers. You can also use the Move tool in Photoshop to apply transforms that let you rotate, skew, and scale layer content in Photoshop. To enable transforms using the Move tool in Photoshop, check the Show Transform Controls checkbox in the Options bar control panel. If enabled, then when you click to select layer content in the document window in Photoshop, a blue transform box then appears around the selected content. At that point, apply the desired types of transforms to the layer content using the following techniques. To then apply the transforms, click the Commit button that then appears in the Options bar control panel after transforming layer content. Alternatively, to cancel the transforms, click the Cancel button in the Options bar control panel instead. To rotate the layer content in Photoshop, hover your mouse pointer slightly outside the bounding box until your mouse pointer turns into a curved double-pointed arrow icon. Then click and drag to rotate the content and release it when it has the desired rotation. To skew the layer content, hover over the side resizing handle for the side by which to skew the content. Then press and hold down the Control key or Command for Max plus the Shift key on your keyboard. The pointer should then turn into a small white triangle icon. Then click and drag the mouse parallel along the side of the transform box you selected to skew the layer content. Then release the mouse button and the keyboard keys after applying the desired skew. To scale the layer content, hover over the resizing handle by which to scale the content. The mouse pointer should appear as a double-pointed arrow icon bisected by a small line when in the correct position. Then click and drag the mouse to proportionally scale the layer content. If scaling a type layer in Photoshop, note that unlike when resizing a bounding box for paragraph text, scaling paragraph text using the Move tool always increases the size of the text within its transform box. After applying the desired scaling to the layer content, then release the mouse button. When scaling using the Move tool in Photoshop, the Maintain Aspect Ratio button in the Options Bar control panel is selected and enabled by default. However, if desired, you can also click this button to turn it off by default. To temporarily toggle maintaining the aspect ratio on or off when scaling using the Move tool, which changes depending on whether it is enabled by default when using the Move tool, simply hold down the Shift key when you click and drag to scale the content. To flip, scale, or skew the layer content at once if desired, hover over the resizing handle by which to flip, scale, or skew the content. Then press and hold down the Control key or Command for Macs, plus the Alt key or Option for Macs on your keyboard. The pointer appears as a small white triangle icon when held over a resizing handle. Then click and drag the mouse in whichever direction you want to flip, scale, or skew the layer content as if it were a 3D object on the document window. Then release the mouse button and the keyboard keys after applying the desired effect. Like scaling, you can also hold down the Shift key when using this keyboard combination to toggle maintaining the aspect ratio on or off as needed. Additionally, you can select the content of multiple layers in the Layers panel to then align and distribute the content within the selected layers when using the Move tool in Photoshop. While you do not explicitly need to check the Show Transform Controls checkbox for the Move tool in the Options Bar control panel to align and distribute layer content, it helps by showing the border of the layer content Photoshop uses to align and distribute the layer content if you choose to align or distribute content by selection area instead of by canvas. So, check the Show Transform Controls checkbox to enable it if needed. Also, note that you always distribute layer content by selection, and you must select at least 3 layers to distribute layer content in Photoshop. Also, you cannot distribute layers if the background layer is selected. Additionally, you cannot align or distribute any layer containing a position lock or full lock. You will learn about layer locks in the next lesson of this chapter. To then align or distribute layer content using the Move tool, click to select the layer content to align or distribute in the Layers panel. To select multiple non-adjacent layers in Photoshop, click the name of the first layer in the Layers panel to select it. Then hold down the Control key on your keyboard or Command for Macs. Then click to select the other non-adjacent layers. Alternatively, to select adjacent layers in Photoshop in the Layers panel, click the name of the first layer in the Layers panel to select it. Then hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. Then click the name of the last layer to select it. All layers, including and between the 2 layers you clicked, are then selected. To choose whether to align the selected layer content using the Cumulative Selection Area or the canvas if aligning selected layer content in Photoshop, click the Align and Distribute button in the Options Bar control panel, and then select either Selection or Canvas from the Align to dropdown within the larger dropdown menu. Note that in Artboard documents, the Canvas choice is unavailable. To then align layer content horizontally, select either the Align Left Edges, Align Horizontal Centers, or Align Right Edges button in the Align section of this drop-down menu. To align layer content vertically, select either the Align Top Edges, Align Vertical Centers, or Align Bottom Edges button in the Align section of this drop-down menu. Note these buttons also appear directly in the Options Bar control panel for easy access after selecting whether to align selected content to the selection or canvas in the future. To distribute layer content vertically, select either the Distribute Top Edges, Distribute Vertical Centers, or Distribute Bottom Edges button in the Distribute section of this drop-down menu. To distribute layer content horizontally, select either the Distribute Left Edges, Distribute Horizontal Centers, or Distribute Right Edges button in the Distribute section of this drop-down menu. To distribute spacing between layer content vertically or horizontally in Photoshop, select the Distribute Vertically or Distribute Horizontally button, respectively, in the Distribute Spacing section of this drop-down menu. Also note these two buttons also appear directly in the Options Bar control panel for easy access. To close the Align and Distribute drop-down menu, click the Align and Distribute button in the Options Bar control panel again. You can ignore the 3D mode buttons at the right end of the Options Bar control panel when the Move tool is selected in Photoshop, as the 3D features of Photoshop are deprecated and will be removed in later releases. Remember to click the subscribe button to see more of our videos. See our full suite of courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides at www.teachucomp.com.